Hi everyone, welcome to the November edition of the Sygnum House View. I hope everyone is well. As always today, everything we say, however interesting, is not investment advice. I'm joined today again by Head of Investment Research here at Sygnum Bank, Katalin Tischhauser. Hi Kat, how are you?
Hello, doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So we talked in previous editions about a long road trip, perhaps an interminably long road trip, and suddenly maybe we're here. So we're going to be debating today, really, has Christmas indeed come early? So November was a very interesting and exciting month. We saw the market had a good run with Bitcoin and Ethereum taking the lead. Some of the highlights including Binance settling with the US Department of Justice, the potential of a Bitcoin and possibly Ethereum ETF, Solana's comeback and generally improving fundamentals, hinting at a potential us moving into a new phase of the market. So Katalin, as always, maybe let's start at the beginning. Bitcoin, what happened? What are the factors you think influenced the performance of Bitcoin last month?
Sure. So the rally that started in the middle of October started basically as the market started to focus on and price in the high likelihood of Bitcoin spot ETF approvals in the US and the expectation of substantial inflows from the clients of giant ETF issuers like BlackRock. And the positive news flow around this continued in November and continued to this day. We had various news items that kept the excitement going. For example, the SEC had consultations with BlackRock on the ETF application, also separately with Grayscale. Then we had news that very large market makers are in talks to support the BlackRock ETF once it's launched. Market makers like Jane Street, Virtue, Jump Trading. So these continued to support the ETFs are likely. This is going to be exciting narrative. And at the same time, Bitcoin had continued improving fundamentals. Transaction count continues to increase. The transaction fees earned by miners continue to increase. The pace of innovation is exciting, finally, on Bitcoin. And the global macro backdrop, to be honest, has also been supportive. I would almost say that we're in a situation where the global macro is kind of positive for Bitcoin either way it goes. If we are really at the end of the rate hike cycle, then this additional liquidity that will be available across the markets, this would then allow the institutions who announced in 2021 their interest of entering the crypto market, but then basically during the bear market they held off, and mostly they haven't yet pulled the trigger. But then if liquidity is again easy, then that would be possible and likely. And the same with the retail, especially if there is the availability of easily tradable ETFs in the US market. On the other hand, if we go the other way and inflation ultimately disappoints and we see a lot more macro instability, then that will continue to highlight Bitcoin's store of value qualities. And these have been re-emphasized this year, basically since the US banking crisis in March. And recently, even Larry Fink called Bitcoin a flight to quality investment. So all this has been
certainly it's a unique,
allowing the rally that started in October to carry on into November and into the current month.
Yeah, certainly the macro conditions going either way, being positive for Bitcoin is quite a unique situation, I guess. But we've seen Bitcoin in the past clearly has led rallies. Is it the same this time? And perhaps what's different?
It has certainly led the rally, and it's clear that it was ignited by Bitcoin-specific news, both the store of value narrative being revived, and obviously the ETF applications and their likely approval. So this has clearly been purely Bitcoin-specific. But recently, last month, we also had news on Ethereum, as BlackRock also applied for Ethereum spot ETF. This basically impetus to Ether after quite a while, when Ether basically has lacked a positive impetus now for a while. But what's been even more interesting is that quite a number of alternative protocols substantially outperformed in November. The use cases outperformed the protocols, the application sectors outperformed the protocol sectors. And actually, the best performing segment in November was the mid-cap segment of the market. And this is really good news, because mid-cap is where the new up-and-coming, already has some traction, but not yet at full fruition kind of projects are.
Yeah. And which one of these have really caught your eye in terms of the alts?
First of all, I would like to say that some of the outperformance of the alts, we have to say, is a correction of lasting underperformance. That always happens. And some of the sectors like metaverse or gaming actually currently lack positive drivers. So, and yet they outperformed also quite substantially. But there are quite a few protocols and market segments where the fundamental drivers are very strong. It's obviously the AI-linked crypto projects for sure, Solana, another one. And it is also quite interesting to note, just in terms of market sentiment and market behavior, that positive developments that did nothing for the price performance of a token at the beginning of the year, similar things or the same things happen now, and the tokens double. And we have had a couple of examples. For example, Avalanche, which has been announcing quite a few large collaborations with traditional institutions at the beginning of the year, with MasterCard, with Alibaba, did nothing for the token price, basically up to the middle of October, when the crypto rally started. Avalanche was down 20% year to date. Now in November, they announced collaborations again with Citi, JP Morgan. The token was instantly up 50%. We had another example of IOTA announcing the first license being awarded in Abu Dhabi. The token doubled instantly within basically a day. So these kinds of news that did not move token prices and did not move the market before are now very much being priced in. And these are actually genuine fundamental developments. So it's to some extent the case where there are positive fundamentals, then the market is ready to catch up with all the lag that has been built up by not pricing in prior positive developments.
Sure. So switching tack across to Binance, in your view, what impact did the Binance settlement with the US Department of Justice have overall? And might this be a template for what we see moving forward?
Yeah, this is very, very important for the crypto market. And I think the way this went is very positive. Binance's legal and regulatory troubles have been a huge cloud hanging over the market. So a resolution to that is clearly a positive, and it's good news in so many ways. First of all, it removes uncertainty, and that alone is very significant. It didn't, the way it went, it doesn't destroy Binance. It puts compliance monitors in place for 5 years, installs a new CEO with impeccable credentials, and this basically allows Binance to continue operating. And I think if it were a small exchange, it wouldn't matter if the exchange or the other exchanges would just pick up their flow, and it wouldn't really matter much. But when the largest exchange crashes, like FTX style, that would be devastating for a period of time for the market. So the fact that it was handled in a way that did not happen and doesn't happen is very good. The fine is large, but it's only about half of the reserves that Binance put aside for similar purposes. Also, the fact that Binance's market share is now reduced. It used to be about 2/3. It's now more like closer to 1/3. That's very good for the market. Having an exchange with 2/3 of the market share is a fragile market structure. It's too much single point of failure, and it's not good for the market. So the fact that it becomes more decentralized and less concentrated, that's also good news. And I would say also the fact that they found no evidence of fraud, no fraud is mentioned in the settlements at all. It's really to do with KYC and such kind of basically regulatory breaches. That's also, of course, very good news, because some were concerned that Binance is Binance like FTX, and it's not. As far as the facts of these legal cases have been made public. And it's also just to mention that they settled with the Department of Justice and with 3 other government agencies. They have not yet settled with the SEC. But basically the terms of the settlement and the fact-finding also look quite positive for the SEC's case, in terms of positive for Binance, because the SEC was really intent on finding evidence of fraud. And now basically the presiding judge said, look, we have found nothing. Please go away and agree amongst yourselves. Come back in 2 weeks. He said that 1 week ago, so 1 week from now, and let me know what you agreed. And basically let's draw a line under this.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to know what the regulators' intentions were, but I think it's certainly moving in a more positive direction, as you're saying. I guess just lastly, looking back to November, were there signs, do you think, in November and maybe to date that might indicate that we're not just on a pump, but actually there could herald the end of the so-called crypto winter? Is there anything in there that you see which could indicate that?
I think that this is the likeliest scenario, that we're in the early stages of a lasting bull cycle. And there's a couple of reasons to think that, actually quite a few. One is that the buying so far has been largely institutional. So it's usually what happens is institutional buying is early cycle, retail buying is late cycle. We have seen, for example, that the CME's market share in Bitcoin futures has grown substantially. Now they're actually market leader in terms of Bitcoin futures open interest. CME is where the institutions trade. So that's one sign. We're still very much in the institutional phase. The inflow into crypto retail products has started growing, but it's far from being frothy or large or excessive. So that also shows a kind of early stage. And that sort of, we all see it in our personal lives, when the taxi drivers are not talking about it yet. And as the way someone put it, if you weren't in crypto, you wouldn't know it's a bull market. So I think that's a good sign. Another sign is that there is no profit taking place amongst long-term holders of Bitcoin and crypto in general, because the coin age, we see it getting longer and longer. Just if history is any guide, the crypto market cycles have actually been almost identical to date. Now we're talking about 3 cycles or three or four. So it's a statistically small sample, but they have been almost identical in terms of the duration, the highs, the lows. And if we fit the current price action and duration onto all the previous cycles, then it just shows we're early stage. And if we think about it from a fundamental perspective, what tends to happen is that when capital is more easily available, then the sentiment towards adoption of all sorts of things, crypto, turns more positive. Then it allows new use cases to start getting traction, developing, really starting to thrive. And there's no guarantee that this will happen. There are some early signs that it probably will, but it is likely to happen. It has been the pattern every time when generally the world is more interested in engaging with crypto and capital is more available to crypto projects, that it allows the use cases to grow and get really serious, exciting traction. And this would definitely create a lasting cycle.
Yeah. So Christmas may indeed be here a little early, but I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how everything plays out in December. Thank you, Katalin, as always, for these great thoughts of yours and the analysis. And thank you everyone who joined today and is watching this on demand. Please visit our website to access your copy of the November House View, which is written by Katalin and the Asset Management Research Team. It's under the Learn and the Research section on the website. Of course, feel free to learn more about Sygnum when you're there. So thanks again, Katalin. Thanks again. And hopefully in December, the Christmas feeling in the crypto market continues. So thanks, everybody.